Can I encourage you all today? Amen, amen. If you would stand and turn in your Bibles, Mark chapter 4, verses 35 through 41. Are you turning? When you have it, just say, I got it. If you're still turning, say, hold up, wait a minute. Mark chapter 4, 35, 41. And it reads, as evening came, Jesus said to his disciples, let's cross to the other side of the lake. So they took Jesus in the boat and started out, leaving the crowds behind. Although other boats followed. But soon a fierce storm came up. High waves were breaking into the boat and it began to fill with water. Jesus was sleeping at the back of the boat with his head on the cushion. The disciples woke him up, shouting, Teacher, don't you care that we're going to drown? When Jesus woke up, he rebuked the wind and said to the waves, silence, be still. Suddenly the wind stopped and there was a great calm. Then he asked them, why are you afraid? Do you still have no faith? The disciples were absolutely terrified. Who is this man? They asked each other. Even the wind and the waves obey him. You may be seated. Church, I have to admit, I'm a sports fanatic. I love sports, so much so that when me and my wife have our TV time together, we know one thing for certain and two things for sure. If she get the remote before me, we going straight to Tubi. Y'all know what Tubi, them C-list movies, and they shoot the whole movie on their iPhone and be on the porch with a taper fade, and they walk in the house, they got braids. Y'all don't know what I'm talking about. But see, if I grab the remote first, then we going straight to channel 33. If ain't nothing popping, we gonna bump it up to 34, and if you know, you know. If you don't, and have Spectrum, that's ESPN 1 and ESPN 2. If you still don't know, that's the Entertainment Sports Programming Network. I love it. I love it. I love to wake up and hear the dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun. I love it. My wife hates it, but I love it. But I just love sports, especially team sports. I love the underdog story of the team nobody thought would win, the team nobody gave a chance, the team nobody believed in, and they turn up victorious. I love the Cinderella story where the team has a magical run where statistics, analytics, and the roster says that they shouldn't be winners, but they're the last team standing holding the trophy. I love the dynasty teams that, while on their run, they're unbeatable. And they play flawless ball. I mean, you can see their dedication. They grind, they grit to stay on top. You know, like the Chicago Bulls and the New York Yankees of the 90s and the San Antonio Spurs and the New England Patriots of the 2000s, which all had long championship runs during those times. I love all sports, but I tend to gravitate more towards team sports. I love to see teamwork. I love to see the bond and camaraderie, whether it be a sisterhood or brotherhood bond. I love to see the competition and the will to win by athletes pushing their bodies and minds to the max on all levels. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm no Stephen A. Smith, but I know a little bit about sports. I've seemed to notice with these sports teams, there's one player on the team labeled the franchise player. You know, the player that all the papers write about. The player with the biggest contract, with the shoe deals. All the kids want to emulate that one player, the one with all the commercials, and the one that all the sports shows are talking about, the one that does the impossible game after game after game. That one player that people don't even have to know sports, but they know the name. I look, for example, I look at Patrick Mahomes, who's looking to win his third Super Bowl in a row. He's a stud. I look at Tom Brady. To many, is labeled the greatest quarterback to lace up his cleats. He was a master in the pocket. He had the most winning drives in NFL history. Then you have LeBron James. Experts say that the record that he broke would stand the test of time. But he broke it. He shattered it. He is labeled the greatest opportunist in basketball history. You can't forget about Kobe Bryant, the Black Mamba. The closest thing to MJ you are getting. Steph Curry, the 10-year-old guard for the Golden State Warriors, who is ice money when it comes to the three-ball. And you can't forget about Michael Jeffrey Jordan, arguably the greatest basketball player to finesse a basketball goal with a basketball. But being a sports guru I am, I've noticed something about these athletes. I've noticed something about all of these athletes. It's something they different. There's one thing that all these athletes have in common. As different as they all may seem, they have this one attribute that they all share. And this one attribute is called the clutch gene. The clutch gene. Now, all of these athletes are clutch. Now, I'm not talking about the pedal you push on when you're trying to change your gears. I'm not talking about what they do with their purses when we walk by. No, I'm not talking about that kind of clutch, but I'm talking about the kind of clutch that is described as a performance that is done in a crucial situation. It usually refers to the last minute of the game when the outcome is uncertain and the pressure is high. A clutch player is someone who can summon strength, concentration, and skill to succeed in such moments. The term is most commonly used in baseball, but it's also applied in all sports. Just know that every team has its superstar, and every great player knows when to put the clutch player in the game. As I look at every situation that comes up in my life, I think about Coach Jehovah, assembling a team called Mankind, and God really loved this team. But the team Mankind was losing to the Ops. The championship was on the line, and God looked across at himself and made eye contact with the greatest of all time, Jesus. And Jesus said, "Put me in, coach. I know they need me right now. Put me in." I can even make it personal. Maybe you can relate, but when I was lost and headed straight to hell, it was Jesus who showed up in my life. He was clutch. It was some days that I didn't know how the rent was going to get paid, but Jesus showed up in my life. He was clutch. I drove from Echo Heights to Keller, from Keller to Harris Hospital in Fort Worth, the whole time having a heart attack. But it was Jesus who kept me because he was clutch. My mother died in 2012. My biological mother died in 2015. My dad died in 2017. My son died in 2020. My grandfather passed in 24. Can I tell you I was about to lose my mind, but it was Jesus who stepped in and he was clutch. So when I say he's clutch, I can stand 10 toes down on that. He was clutch yesterday. He was clutch today, and he'll be clutch forevermore. I would like to tag this message. He's clutch. Subtitled, How to Be a Good Role Player. Everyone knows that each franchise player has to be surrounded by role players. A role player is just what it sounds like. They have a particular set of skills, and that's it. They have one job, and that's to use their particular set of skills. It might be a good rebounder. You might be a good defender. Nobody's getting past you. You might be a three-point specialist. Pass you the rock and you money. You stay ready for the shot. You might be a good floor general. You know how to get everybody in the right spot. but you have a particular skill set. This is not the star, because the star is good at everything. The star can do it all. It's no flaws with the star, but the role player is the one who has the special attribute to complement the star. The best role players know one thing, and that's how to stay in their own lane. They know how to play their part in order for the team to be successful. As we look at the text, we see Jesus' squad, the disciples, on a boat during the storm. We all know the story. Jesus is preaching, and the crowd getting kind of big, and they want autographs and selfies. So he was like, man, put me on the boat. Let's back up, and so I can get everybody. So Jesus preaches, and when he gets done, they go across to the other side. But in between them going to the other side, a storm pops up, and the disciples wake Jesus up because they scared, and then Jesus get up and, wipe stuff out his eyes and go up and calm the storm. We know the story. We know the story. So as I was looking at the text, I heard dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun. And I was like, okay, God. And the scripture spoke to me, and they said, this is how you play your part. This is how you be a good role player. 1, accept the challenge. Verse 35 says, as evening came, Jesus said to his disciples, let's cross to the other side of the lake. So they took Jesus in the boat and started out, leaving the crowds behind, although other boats followed them. Can I stop right there and tell you something? It's going to be people watching you, and it's going to be some wanting you to succeed. It's going to be some waiting for you to fail. But remember, they are watching you. 37, but soon a fierce storm came up. High waves were breaking into the boat, and it began to fill with water. I'm a firm believer of the statement that if it doesn't challenge you, it won't change you. See, the thing about our sports is it takes practice to be good. It takes practice to develop your skills. It takes practice to develop your craft. The harder you practice, the better you play. That's why they say hard work beats just talent any day. No matter how good you think you are, if you don't practice, you're not going to be very good. So see, this was practice for the disciples. Many theologians debate the time span between Jesus calling the disciples and Jesus calming the storm. Since the Bible doesn't say specifically how long it was, some say it was as short as a few days, others say that it was as short as a couple of weeks, but both sides agree that it was a very short time span between the both. So here they are feeling good about Jesus as he preached. He done blessed the crowd, he done gave the word. And then as he's preaching from the boat, he gets done and says, let's go to the other side. Challenge accepted. See, they thought since they was rolling with Jesus, wasn't nothing going to happen. Wrong. Just because you saved, just because you roll with Jesus every day, just because you keep him in your pocket, just because you rock with him, he in your phone, you rock the Jesus shirt, just because you take Jesus everywhere does not mean you are exempt from storms. The moment you accept Jesus, you have a target on your back, and the enemy is coming to kill, steal, and destroy. What better way to get you in shape for those encounters than practice? Say it with me. Practice. One more time. Practice. We need that. We used to have this saying when I was growing up, and it was whenever somebody was scared to do something, we'd be like, you gonna mildew or you gonna barbecue? Telling my age a little bit. But whatever it is, we was like, is you gonna do it or not, man? Can you fight through it? Can you press on when it feels like you have nothing left in the tank? Can you get past your fears to get it done? See, Jesus knew that they were new to this disciple thing, and after the crucifixion, it would be hard on Christians. Followers would be unjustly tried and killed. So he had to get his squad ready. Jesus was working on building their faith muscles. See, no athletes get stronger overnight. No athlete gets fast overnight. No athlete betters their craft overnight. You can't just go to sleep and wake up running like Sha'Carri Richards. You don't just go to sleep and wake up and look like Orion without ever lifting a weight in your life. Now, I wish it was like that because your boy be rocking the 7-pack, the 6 with the 1 right there. Yeah, but it don't work like that. You got to put in some work. You got to put in some work. It takes some nasty stuff to make a seed grow. Oh, it takes some work to make a seed grow. I remember my granddaddy used to have a garden on the side of the house and one in the backyard, and I used to go out there, and I was young, and well, go get that manure off the truck. Okay. I didn't know what manure was, but I knew I liked collard greens and mustard greens, but I didn't know that it took manure and a lot of work to make them seeds grow. Just like your faith, it takes a lot of stuff, a lot of work to make your faith grow. But indeed, we know it's going to take some work to make our faith grow. God builds us into his champions by selecting us individually, often through our challenges, circumstances. Accept the challenge. And then guiding us through the process of faith development, practice, some character building, practice, and some total reliance on his power and more practice, allowing us to overcome storms and fulfill our purpose in serving God. You can't win the championships in your life if you don't accept the challenge and work. It's going to be some storms. These kids going to act a fool, accept the challenge. It's just practice. It's going to be some times when your bills beat the stank out your pockets, especially if you got kids. Accept the challenge. It's just practice. That relationship ain't peas and cream no more. It's salt and vinegar. That's okay. Accept the challenge. It's just practice. God is into building champions. A believer's practice regimen is always going to be harder than a non-believer's. So just know, when you get on the boat, accept the challenge. You're going to have to put in some work, but it's just practice. The next step in being a role player is knowing reality is reality. It is what it is. 37 says, but soon a fierce storm came up. High waves were breaking into the boat, and it began to fill with water. All good role players possess the characteristic to do their job no matter what. No matter if the team is losing and the game looks out of hand, if they're whooping your tail, no matter what it is, a good player will always play their part. Because they understand that this is a game of runs. It's not the final score. So you might be winning life one day, and all of a sudden tomorrow you fall off. As Christians, we're going to face these runs in life called vicissitude. These unfortunate storms in life that we have no control over. That's when whatever bad can happen does happen. Those are the uncontrollable, unprecedented, and unpredictable misfortunes and mishaps that blow into our lives. John 16:33 says, I have said these things to you, that in me you may have peace. In the world you will have tribulation. But take heart, I have overcome the world. See, so the forecast in your life says you can plan a picnic, but you can't predict the weather. It's going to rain. It's going to storm. Reality is reality. It is what it is. See, the disciples were fishermen who had made a living fishing on these waters. This would have given them the knowledge of the potential chance that a storm could pop up. They weren't new to this. The Sea of Galilee was down in a valley, and it was surrounded by mountains. And when the cold air from the mountains came down and meet with the hot air off the water, you got these big storms, these intense storms. See, Brother Kendricks and I, we ain't never went fishing on the holy Sea of Galilee for no crappies and catfish. but the disciples did. It was nothing new to them. They was used to this. But see, when storms pop up in our lives, it puts us under pressure. When I hear the word pressure, I automatically think about the storms of life that surrounded us on a daily basis. I have to stop myself from watching the news because it's bad this, bad that. He got shot. They got killed. They went in there and did that. But it adds on to the pressures that life has already dealt me. These many pressures of life can seem overwhelming at times. I mean, dealing with the financial pressures, the emotional pressures, the social pressures, the domestic pressures, and physical pressures can leave you drained, depressed, and depleted all at the same time. Drug and alcohol abuse, domestic violence, and child abuse are at a all-time rate. That says people have stopped looking for Jesus on the boat as a way to get out of the storms and pressures of life, but instead have started looking towards worldly coping mechanisms to deal with the many pressures of life as we know it today. See, when the blunt is gone, the pressures are still there. When you wake up with that hangover, the pressures are still there. You called them over thinking Netflix and chilling was going to be all right and going to get you through. But when they left the next morning, the pressures were still there. You went ham and did numbers on Amazon, Shein, and Temu. But after you got them packages and opened them all up, the pressures were still there. The world we living in is a tough one, to say the least. But when I think about these unpredictable pressures of life, they just didn't pop up. They just didn't stop by for the kickback in your life in 2025. But these vicissitudes of life have been happening since the biblical days. See, I wish I could just ask Moses about some pressures of life when he was leading the people out of Egypt. I wish I could ask Abraham about the pressures of life while he was on the 3-day, 2,000-mile sacrificial journey. We talking about some pressure. I wish I could ask Joseph about some pressure while he sat in jail falsely accused of a rape charge. Pressure. I wish I could ask Jonah about some pressures while he laid in the belly of a fish hundreds of miles deep in the Arab Sea for 3 days and 3 nights. We talking about some pressure. I wish I could ask David about some pressure as the 22-year-old sling and stone whirling shepherd boy was thrown into a battle against a 9-foot 9-inch sword swinging Philistine giant named Goliath. It's like taking a butter knife to a gunfight. But can I tell you, if Jesus is on the boat with you, who can be against you? I know. Reality is you're tired. You're worn out. You're in the thick of things. You're in a dog fight and you're losing. Your life is beating you up and down in every which way but loose. But it's right there you should realize that it's only the 4th quarter. I'm just down, but I'm not out. Reality says that the game is not over. Just because it looks bad doesn't mean it's going to end bad. See, Jesus never told the disciples that they was going to be going on a carnival cruise with a free buffet. But what he did do was make a promise, and that was we going to get to the other side. It is what it is. We Christians just going to have some storms in our lives. And this is reality. It is what it is. But you also facing what you're facing. But you're facing what you're facing with the one who can get you through whatever it is you're facing. Because Jesus is on the boat. I'm going to say that again. The reality is you're facing what you're facing. But the reality is also you're facing what you're facing with the one who can get you through what you're facing, and that's Jesus because he's on the boat. After we've accepted the challenge, after we've accepted reality, and the fact is that it is what it is, the next and final way the text shows us how to be a role player is to match the swag. Yeah. The text says in verse 38, Jesus was sleeping at the back of the boat with his head on the cushion. The disciples woke him up, shouting, "Teacher, don't you care that we're going to drown?" attitude should be a reflection of leadership. See, if you have a defeated attitude, a nasty attitude, a fearful attitude, then you need to ask yourself, who am I following? I don't want to make no assumptions. I don't know who y'all follow, you know what I'm saying? But if it's Jesus, ask yourself, what would Jesus do? If my leader is cool, calm, and collected, then I should be cool, calm, and collected. When I was growing up as a kid, we used to play outside. That's a lost art nowadays. We drank water out the water hose. It wasn't no running in and out. You know, mama wasn't trying to hear that thing. I ain't trying to cool off the whole block. Yeah. So, but we played outside, and you know, we would play. We would go across the street to the big country. Across the street, we would meet up, and you know, we would play games like hide and go seek, red light, green light, tag you it. Simon says, look at them millennials. Man, they trying to Google it. What is Simon say? But look, my favorite game was follow the leader. And we would play rock, paper, scissors to see who would be the first leader. And I love being the leader, you know, because as the leader, they had to do whatever I did. If I walk left, they had to walk left. If I start jumping, they had to jump. They had to do whatever I did or they would be out. Whoever did not follow the leader had to go sit down. It was a very simple game. As long as you followed the leader, as long as you did what the leader did, as long as you acted like the leader, as long as you moved like the leader moved, you were good. I'm trying to help somebody here today. As long as you move like Jesus, as long as you act like Jesus, as long as you walk and talk like Jesus, as long as you follow the leader, the storms in your life won't sink your ship. John 10:27 says, my sheep listen to my voice. I know them and they follow me. You got to learn how to follow Jesus no matter what it looked like. You got to learn how to match the swag of Jesus. See, Jesus was different. It was a whole storm breaking out, ship busting up, and he was comfy, cozy, laying on his memory foam pillow with his heated blanket he got off Amazon. See, Jesus was different. See, these great winds that cause the intense storms, they're called Sharkia winds, which means eastern winds. Jesus was preaching on the boat on the western shore. Why is that important? When they left for the other side, they were headed to the eastern shore. When Jesus said, let us go to the other side, they were going straight into the direction of the storm. Can I tell you something? Come close. Come close. In between direction and destiny lies distraction. They were on the western shore. Jesus was done, say, let's go to the other side. They were going to the eastern shore. The Shakara winds are the eastern winds. So they were going right into the storm. Yeah. That new job you were destined for, that new business you were destined for, that marriage God had for you, you wonder why you going through more hell than hot water. Those storms will pop up to distract you. Those storms will pop up to get you off your game. Those storms will pop up to scare you. See, Jesus was below deck sleep, and the disciples was facing the storm scared. God didn't create us to worry. He didn't create us to be scared. He created us to worship. See, you so worried about the storm before you. You so worried about the issues brewing in your life, the finances, the relationships, the supervisors getting on your nerves, the reports you got from the doctor. You so scared about losing it all, you forget who on the boat. If the storm is raging in your life and you trying to get to the other side, you trying to reach your destiny, you trying to be the best role player, you got to start matching the swag of Jesus. It's just practice. In essence, to be the best role player you can be, it's going to take some work. The text says that after Jesus calmed the storm, in verse 40, it says, then he asked them, why are you afraid? Why are you scared? Do you still have no faith? The disciples were absolutely terrified. Who is this man? They asked each other. Even the wind and waves obey him. The disciples were scared during the storm. They woke Jesus up. He calmed the storm. And then they were scared after the storm. Make it make sense to me. They were scared during the storm. They went and woke Jesus up. He calmed the storm. And then they were scared after the storm. Look at your neighbor. Look, you know how we do it. If their eyes are pretty as yours, you just close your eyes. But look at them. Look at them. And tell them, don't be scared. To mean it though. Tell them, don't be scared. All Jesus was saying is, do your job. Be a role player. Your job is to trust me. My job is to calm the storms in your life. Your job is to trust me. My job is to calm the storms in your life. See, as a role player, you should walk by faith, speak by faith, fight by faith, live this life by faith, knowing that Jesus is clutch. Truth is, you are a follower of Christ, and you're going to go through some storms. Ain't no way around it. But there is a way through it. And that's having faith in Jesus and knowing that he's going to come through in the clutch. Remember, it's not who you play, but it's how you play when you play. Doesn't matter what the storm is, because some will be heavier than others. But it's how you handle the storm when it comes, no matter what kind of storm it is. Your faith, my faith, our faith in Jesus to bring us out of the storm should never play second fiddle to the magnitude of the storm we face. Simply because he's clutched. He's clutched. He's clutched. He's clutched. Say it with me. He's clutched. He's clutched. When you don't have a dime in your pocket, he's. Yes, he is. When your body's shutting down on you, he's. When you're worried about your kids, he. When you're down and depressed, he. When the doors are shut in your face, he'll open them because he's. He's clutched. He's clutched. He's clutched. He's clutched. Is he clutching your life? Is he clutching your life? All you have to do is be the best role player you can be and watch Jesus be clutched in your life. Amen.